It's June 2025, and once again, police dig across 120 acres in Portugal, frantic, racing against a legal clock. 18 years after Madeleine McCann vanished from apartment 5A, investigators have spent over £13 million, but the answers remain agonizingly out of reach. With their only named suspect days from walking free, the stakes for Madeleine McCann. What is the story now have never been higher. Will this final search uncover proof before time runs out? Or will the world's most haunting missing child case slip into silence? The truth may be closer than ever. But what will it really reveal? June 2025. German federal police swarm a windswept stretch of Portuguese coast, east of Praia da Luz. Their target, 120 acres of clifftop scrubland, dotted with 21 abandoned farmhouses and outbuildings, each one a potential hiding place, each one a race against time. The search, authorized through a European investigation order, draws together a multinational team, 25 German investigators, Portugal's Polícia Judiciária, local firefighters, civil protection crews, and armed officers securing the perimeter. For 3 days, from June 3rd to June 6th, the operation moves methodically from plot to plot, chainsaws clearing tangled brush, excavators shifting decades-old rubble, pumps draining stagnant wells. Ground-penetrating radar, capable of scanning to a depth of 15 feet, sweeps beneath the surface, searching for buried secrets. The radar's electromagnetic pulses map the earth below, flagging any anomaly, any sign that the ground was disturbed. In the derelict buildings, officers sift through debris, looking for fibers, bone fragments, or any trace that might link this place to Madeleine McCann. Every sample is bagged and logged, destined for forensic labs in Germany. The search zone hugs a clifftop path between Atalaya and Lagos, a landscape abandoned since the 1980s, now reclaimed by wild grass and wind. These buildings once formed the backdrop to Bruckner's life in Portugal. He knew these roots. He lived nearby. Now, as his release from prison looms, investigators have just weeks to find evidence strong enough for charges before the man they call their only suspect walks free. On the ground, secrecy is absolute. British police stand back, aware but uninvolved, as the German-led teams work in silence. Local residents watch from a distance, recalling decades of passing these same ruins, never imagining their significance. By Thursday, the operation winds down. No announcements, no breakthroughs, just boxes of soil and debris, and a handful of items for analysis. With each passing hour, the legal window narrows. For the officers on site, the pressure is relentless. They know what's at stake. If they miss something now, the chance may never come again. May 3rd, 2007. In the quiet seaside town of Praia da Luz, a British family's holiday shattered in an instant. 3-year-old Madeleine McCann vanished from apartment 5A at the Ocean Club Resort, while her parents, Kate and Jerry, dined with friends just yards away. The twins, Sean and Amelie, slept undisturbed in their cots. By 10 p.m., Madeleine was gone. Panic swept through the resort. Staff and guests scoured the grounds, calling her name into the darkness, but no trace appeared. Within hours, the story had crossed borders, igniting a media storm that would never fully subside. From the outset, the investigation faltered. Portuguese police failed to secure the apartment, allowing dozens, family, staff, neighbors to come and go. Potential evidence was trampled, wiped away, or lost. Officers did not wear protective clothing. Bedding was laundered before forensic teams arrived. DNA samples, when finally gathered, were too contaminated and complex to yield answers. Key details: who entered the apartment, who lingered in the corridors, who was seen on the street, were never systematically logged. CCTV footage from the area was not preserved. Witness statements, sometimes conflicting, went unverified for weeks. The first hours, so critical in missing child cases, were lost to confusion and missteps. As days turned to weeks, the search expanded beyond Portugal. Reported sightings poured in from across Europe, but none brought Madeleine home. The Portuguese investigation, under mounting pressure and scrutiny, shifted focus several times, at one point naming Kate and Jerry McCann as formal suspects, or arguidos. That status was lifted in 2008 when the case was shelved, but the damage to trust and cooperation lingered. In Britain, the public demanded answers. By 2011, the Metropolitan Police launched Operation Grange, a full-scale review and later a formal investigation. The review, led by Detective Chief Inspector Andy Redwood, exposed gaps in the original inquiry. Phone records from the night of Madeleine's disappearance had never been fully analyzed. Lists of guests and workers present at the resort were incomplete. The British Home Office committed funding year after year, totaling £13.2 million by 2024, making Operation Grange one of the most expensive missing persons investigations in UK history. Teams combed through 39,000 documents, re-interviewed witnesses, and followed new leads, but the central mystery endured. For the McCanns, every anniversary brought the same ache. Hope flickered with each new tip, each appeal, each technological advance. But so did the fear that the trail had gone cold. 18 years on, the question remains: how does a child vanish from a holiday apartment? And how does a case with such resources, such urgency, still offer no closure? The search for Madeleine McCann became a test, not just of investigative skill, but of endurance, faith, and the limits of what can be known. Christian Bruckner's name first surfaced in connection with Madeleine McCann in 2017, when a tip reached German police. By June 2020, prosecutors had publicly identified him as their prime suspect, a man with a criminal record stretching back to his teens and a life spent drifting between Germany and Portugal. His history is not a straight line, but a pattern of escalating offenses and missed warnings. At 17, Bruckner was convicted of molesting a 6-year-old girl. Over the next 2 decades, he accumulated convictions for theft, drug trafficking, child sexual abuse, and, most notably, the violent rape of a 72-year-old woman in Praia da Luz, just 2 years before Madeleine vanished. That crime alone earned him a 7-year sentence in Germany, scheduled to end on September 17, 2025. Bruckner's ties to the Algarve run deep. He arrived in Portugal in 1995, blending into the expat scene, working odd jobs, and living in a string of rented homes and derelict cottages. He knew the back roads and shortcuts around Praia da Luz, the kinds of places that would later become the focus of police searches. He burglarized holiday apartments, broke into hotel rooms, and supported himself through petty crime. Witnesses recall his presence at bars and festivals, his battered camper van parked near the coast, his habit of vanishing for days at a time. On May 3, 2007, the night Madeleine disappeared, Bruckner's mobile phone pinged off a cell tower just outside the Ocean Club Resort. Records show he received a half-hour call, placing him within a few hundred meters of apartment 5A at precisely the wrong moment. Investigators would later describe this phone data as the most direct link between Bruckner and the crime scene, a digital footprint that, even after 18 years, remains at the center of the case. Yet, as prosecutors admit, a phone ping is not a confession. It raises questions. Was he alone? Did he answer the call? Can presence be equated with guilt? German police have spent years tracing Bruckner's movements, reconstructing his life in Portugal, and scouring his digital trail. In 2016, they uncovered disturbing images and videos during a search of a former factory he used as a hideout near Nieuwegersveld, Leben. The material pointed to a fixation with child abuse, but offered no direct evidence linking him to Madeleine. In 2013, chat room transcripts captured him boasting about fantasies of kidnapping and torturing children. Again, no explicit mention of Madeleine, just a chilling glimpse into his mind. Hans Christian Wolters, the Braunschweig prosecutor leading the case, has made his position clear. He believes Brueckner is responsible for Madeleine's abduction and likely murder, but he is equally blunt about the limits of his evidence. Without a body, a confession, or forensic proof, the case remains circumstantial. Wolters has described the investigation as a race against time, one complicated by the looming end of Brueckner's sentence. If no charges are filed by September 2025, Brueckner will walk free, possibly beyond the reach of German authorities. He has already told reporters he intends to disappear, perhaps to a country without extradition treaties. Brueckner himself, writing from prison, rails against the investigation. He claims innocence, accuses prosecutors of a witch hunt, and mocks the global attention. Yet he has never accounted for his whereabouts on the night of May 3, 2007. He has never explained the phone call that put him at the scene. For investigators, these silences speak volumes. The legal clock ticks on. Brueckner remains behind bars, not for Madeleine, but for a different crime in the same place. German police continue to sift through evidence, re-examining every detail of his life in Portugal. The stakes are clear. Unless new proof emerges, the man at the center of the world's most watched child abduction case could soon be free to vanish once more. May 2023, German federal police arrive at the Arada Dam, a remote stretch of water 30 miles northeast of Praia da Luz. Their orders are precise. Search every inch of the reservoir's barren shoreline, probe the silt, and comb the tangled undergrowth for anything that might connect this place to Madeleine McCann. For 3 days, teams of officers, forensic experts, and search dogs move along the banks and into the woods, working methodically from dawn until dusk. The operation, coordinated with Portugal's Polícia Judiciária and authorized by a European investigation order, covers a vast area, more than a square kilometer, on the southern edge of the dam, including a series of makeshift campsites and fire pits scattered among the trees. The location is no accident. Investigators know that Christian Brueckner, the man they have called their only suspect, once frequented this reservoir. He was seen here by acquaintances in the years he lived in the Algarve, often driving his battered camper van along the dam's winding tracks. Police believe he may have visited the site in the days after Madeleine vanished, possibly using the isolation to hide evidence or dispose of items linked to the crime. Specialist teams deploy ground-penetrating radar, capable of mapping the earth below to a depth of 15 feet. The radar's electromagnetic pulses sweep the ground, flagging any disruptions, shifts in soil, buried objects, or signs of recent digging. Divers enter the water, searching for weighted bags or containers. On land, officers dig shallow trenches and sift through debris, collecting soil samples, fragments of fabric, and anything else that might hold a clue. Every item is sealed, labeled, and shipped to forensic labs in Germany for analysis. The search is tense, deliberate. Each discovery, an animal bone, a scrap of clothing, a plastic bag, brings a flurry of activity, but so far, nothing links directly to Madeleine. Still, the operation continues, driven by a sense of urgency. Time is running out. Brueckner's prison sentence for an unrelated rape is set to end in September 2025, and investigators know this may be their last chance to find evidence strong enough to hold him. As the third day draws to a close, police pack up their equipment and leave the site under tight security. Officials refuse to comment on what, if anything, has been found. A handful of items remain under forensic review in Germany, their significance still unknown. For now, the Arad Dam joins a long list of places searched and hopes tested. The operation ends with more questions than answers. But for investigators, every sample, every scan, every hour spent in the dust and heat is a necessary step. One more effort to turn suspicion into proof before the legal window closes for good. April 2022. Portuguese prosecutors make a rare move, formally naming Christian Bruckner as an arguido, a status unique to their legal system. The designation comes just weeks before the 15-year statute of limitations for serious crimes would have expired, freezing the clock and preserving Portugal's right to prosecute. This isn't a charge, nor an arrest. It is a procedural tool, a way to keep the door open without crossing the threshold. The decision follows months of negotiation between German, Portuguese, and British authorities, each operating under different standards of evidence and different definitions of justice. For German prosecutors, the challenge isn't just finding evidence. It's building a case strong enough to survive the scrutiny of three legal systems. The German code demands proof beyond substantial suspicion, higher than the probable cause standard familiar to British or American investigators. Portuguese law requires its own threshold for prosecution, and the British investigation remains officially a missing person inquiry. Every step must be coordinated, every action justified in triplicate. With Bruckner's release from prison, set for September 2025, the legal window is closing fast. German authorities have petitioned the courts for preventive measures, electronic monitoring, reporting requirements, restrictions on travel. These are not punishments, but safety nets, designed to keep a dangerous man within reach if charges cannot be filed in time. Yet, even these tools are subject to judicial review and strict evidentiary standards. The cross-border complexity shows in the details. Evidence collected in Portugal must be admissible in German courts, and any future prosecution will need to withstand challenges from defense lawyers versed in all three systems. The European Investigation Order, the mechanism that allowed German police to search the Atalaia scrubland in June 2025, is only as strong as the cooperation behind it. Meanwhile, the debate over monitoring Bruckner after release intensifies. Some officials argue for the maximum restrictions allowed by law. Others warn that overreach could jeopardize future proceedings. The balance between public safety and legal rights has never been more precarious. For the McCanns and families of other missing children, the legal maneuvers offer little comfort. The case remains at a crossroads, with justice hanging not on a single breakthrough, but on the ability of three nations to agree on what counts as proof, and how far they can go to prevent a suspect from slipping away for good. Madeleine McCann stood at the Village War Memorial in Rothley, surrounded by candles and photographs of her missing sister. 16 years had passed since Madeleine vanished, and now, for the first time, Amelie spoke publicly. Her voice was steady, her words simple. "It's nice that everyone is here together, but it's a sad occasion." That brief statement, delivered as she lit a candle for Madeleine and for other missing children, captured the ache that never leaves. Around her, 70 neighbors and friends gathered in the dusk, repeating the same mantras that have echoed through every anniversary. Never give up, leave no stone unturned, still missing, still missed. The McCann family has learned to exist in this uneasy space between hope and heartbreak. Each year, the absence grows heavier, but rituals like the vigil offer a fragile thread of connection. Amelie and her twin, Sean, have grown into adulthood with the world watching, their childhood shaped by questions with no answers. Kate and Jerry, once the faces of a global campaign, now speak less often. In a recent statement, they wrote, "Whilst we are fortunate in many ways and able to live a relatively normal and enjoyable life now, the living in limbo is still very unsettling, and the absence still aches." The pressure of public attention never truly fades. In 2023, As Amélie stepped briefly into the spotlight, her family reminded reporters that the twins' privacy mattered, that turning 18 did not make them fair game for headlines or photographs. The balance between openness and protection has become a daily calculation, especially as the investigation lurches between hope and disappointment. In June 2020, a fresh wave of anxiety swept through the family. German prosecutor Hans Christian Wolters told the press he had written to the McCanns with concrete evidence that Madeleine was dead. But the family quickly denied receiving any such letter. Their official statement was blunt. The widely reported news that we have received a letter from the German authorities that states there is evidence or proof that Madeleine is dead is false. The speculation, they said, caused unnecessary anxiety to friends and family, and once again, disrupted our lives. For the McCanns, this cycle of rumor and rebuttal is as familiar as the ache of loss. Each time, officials speak of certainty, but withhold the proof, the family is left suspended, grateful for progress, but wary of pronouncements that offer no closure. There is no grave to visit, no final truth to anchor their grief. Instead, they mark time with vigils and statements, holding fast to the hope that someday, silence will give way to answers. 18 years on, the McCanns live with the paradox of being both seen and unseen, public figures and private mourners, advocates and parents. In the quiet of each anniversary, they gather with those who remember. They light candles, read poems, and speak Madeleine's name, refusing to let the world forget. In their words, the absence still aches. In June 2025, investigators searched 120 acres at Atalaya, deploying advanced technology and working across national borders, a scale reflecting both urgency and the years of uncertainty since Madeleine McCann vanished from apartment 5A on May 3, 2007. Operation Grange, launched in 2011, has spent £13.2 million, yet no one has been charged. Christian Bruckner was named as the prime suspect in June 2020, with phone data placing him near the scene, but the evidence has not met the threshold for prosecution. Items recovered from the 2023 Arata Dam dig are still under review, and many case documents remain classified. As Bruckner's September 2025 release nears, authorities face unresolved legal and moral questions. For Madeleine's family, hope and uncertainty persist. 18 years on, the case stands at a crossroads, where every new search brings renewed scrutiny, but the final answers remain out of reach.